Hi, it's Ipie, and welcome back to the Ipie Show. I wanted to get 2021 started off right and actually release a video this time, despite the fact that this is almost certainly coming out in February at the very least, but that's neither here nor there. So this one's going to be easy, because today I'm talking about one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, Cookie Run. Alright, this game's stupid. What's next on the list? Zelda! Games about action, exploration, and of course, adventure. Yeah! I've always had a fondness for the Zelda series, even though I've only beaten one of the games. That game, of course, being Breath of the Wild, my favorite game of all time, as I mentioned in my last video. And to prove how much I love that game, here's some footage of me playing it. That's right, I don't have a capture card, so I can't really talk about Breath of the Wild right now, can I? Well, what do I talk about then? Oh, no. No, oh god, no! For those unaware, this is the Hyrule Historia, part of the Goddess Collection along with an art book and an encyclopedia. And yes, I have them all, and no, you didn't ask. Focus of today is primarily going to be on the Historia as well as the encyclopedia, and also the website, because today, my dear friends, we're going to be discussing the Zelda Timeline. Alright, I'm overreacting a little bit. Honestly, this timeline isn't as confusing as a lot of people make it seem, and at least not as I remember it. I mean, they changed it from the original in the Historia. When the encyclopedia came out, there are some people who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, is there? Alright. So what makes the Zelda timeline so unique and honestly a bit dumb is that it splits off directly after Ocarina of Time. Because Ocarina of Time is basically a time travel story, there can be some story complications. Let's go from left to right on the timeline here. The first one is if the hero is defeated fighting Ganon's forces. Simple enough, kinda weird, but simple enough. But here's where things get kind of very weird and complicated. Look over there. Do you see that in the distance? Behind the tree, over the mountain? That there is the Hero Triumph section, which itself has two branches, and that's where the time travel shenanigans start. At the end of Ocarina of Time, Zelda sends Link back in time to when he was a kid so that he can live the life that he lost in the Temple of Time. A kind gesture towards Link to be sure, but not really for the rest of Hyrule. Sure, we follow our good friend Link back in time dubbed the Child Era, but the time that he came from, called the Adult Era, is left without him. To the people of Hyrule, the Hero of Time simply disappeared, and it allowed Ganon to take over undisturbed. In other words, one timeline is the world where we follow Link after Ocarina and directly into Majora's Mask, while the other timeline is the timeline that Link left behind at the end of Ocarina, with disastrous consequences. It seems kinda confusing on the surface, but from what I remember, it's not that difficult to understand, so why don't we just go over the timeline as a whole? Because, well, it's my show, so, Our story starts with Skyward Sword, which explains the creation of the whole crux of this timeline, a never-ending loop of reincarnation of good and evil. All the different Links, Zeldas, and Ganons are reincarnations brought upon by the curse of this very muscular, very fiery lad named Demise. Upon Demise's, well, demise, he cursed the blood of the goddess Hylia and the spirit of the hero, that's hero with a capital H by the way, with his everlasting hatred for them both. Jeez man, I know people hold grudges sometimes, and sometimes they're very long grudges, but like, don't you think that's like a little too far, man? Hyrule is established, and the Minish Cap is the first game chronologically in Hyrule, which for some reason I find really weird, I don't know. And Vaiti has risen. Vaiti? How do I say that? Hold on a minute. Vai? There's a T though. What? Vaiti. Vaiti makes sense. Vaiti has risen. It is consequently defeated by a heroic boy with the help of a talking bird head. Caw! Now, does he have anything to do with Demise or with Ganon? Vaati is resurrected again in 4 swords, and then is defeated once again. Hero 2, Vaati 0. Ocarina then follows, where Ganondorf becomes the Demon King Ganon and gets sealed away. And I just now noticed this, but the Sacred Realm apparently becomes the Dark World. Yeah, I'm sure I don't need to look into that any further. Now this is where the split happens, so we're going to start with the hero being defeated first. Link to the Past is where Ganon is resurrected by Agrahim. Agrahim? Why are Zelda names so hard to pronounce? Ganon is resurrected by Agrahim, and they're both subsequently defeated. You may or may not start noticing a pattern at this point. These following two entries swapped when the encyclopedia came out, and I'm not entirely sure why, so I'm just gonna put them in the revised order. Who cares, it's fine. So Link's Awakening happens next, which is, by the way, a great game, and has an even greater soundtrack, but it has no hold in the timeline, so it doesn't really matter right now. Screw you, Windfish. We never see you again. Oracle games, baby, let's go! This segment is really fun, because both of these games were released at the same time and take place on the same block in the timeline. So, which one is canonically first? Well, manga-wise, Seasons takes place before Ages. Also, yes, I also have all the manga, and no, you still didn't ask. But the manga's not canon. So, we're just going to ignore that for now. Now, I really like these two stories, but screw you, Onyx and Vern, we never see you again, but Ganon's resurrected again, baby. Boom! Dead. Again. Let's go! Afterwards, we have A Link Between Worlds, which is a good game, cool villain, but we never see them again. Though I will give it a pass, because that game is relatively new. They didn't really have a chance to come back. You know who is back, though? Ganon. That's right. But this time, oh wait, this time, he's pink and is a ginger. So, it's different. Triforce Heroes is a direct sequel to Link Between Worlds, but it also has very little bearing on the timeline, and I also keep forgetting about its existence. Then there's Zelda 1 and 2, where Ganon is resurrected again in Zelda 1, and is prevented from happening another time in Zelda 2. They really need to get this guy on lock at some point, like, seriously. He's already escaped like 5 times already. Alright, so now we're at the confusing part, the triumphant section of the timeline, starting with the Child Era, where the Sacred Realm is still protected. Okay, we start off with Majora's Mask, which once again, good game, good soundtrack, has very little bearing on the timeline. Cause screw you, Majora, we never see you again. Ganondorf is executed. Guess they finally found a way to deal with him after the other timeline. Maybe this time he won't come back 20 times. Oh wait, no, because he comes back somehow when Twilight Princess happens, and he's subsequently defeated again. I looked it up. How he came back, I'm still not entirely clear. Let me look it up again to just double check. Hold on. Alright, the Triforce of Power allowed Ganondorf to survive. Okay. As I said, he's defeated the Twilight Princess, then he's reincarnated, because, you know, curse. And Vaati is resurrected again as well in Four Swords Adventure, which is totally different from Four Swords Standard, when Link pulls out the Four Sword and undergoes mitosis. Both are defeated, screw you Vaati, we never see you again. Woo! Okay. One more timeline to go. Adult Era, baby! Because Ganondorf is sealed, it takes a little bit for him to be resurrected. When the king attempted, and failed, to stop Ganondorf, the goddesses earned the first 3 letters in their name and performed the godly, divine intervention tradition of flooding the whole freaking world. Hyrule, of course, is sealed and preserved under the water. This is when, obviously, Wind Waker takes place. And we round out this journey with Phantom Hourglass, an actual direct sequel to Wind Waker, and Spirit Tracks, a distant sequel to Phantom Hourglass, taking place in New Hyrule, where Ganondorf is no longer present for whatever reason. I mean, there was this thing named Bellum, which I've never heard of before, or whatever it is, prior to this video, and their name also apparently means war in Latin, so maybe it's more of like an abstract thing, I don't know. And then, there's Molidus, who might become a problem for New Hyrule because he was a demon king before it was inhabited. But hey, who cares? Because we never see them again. You see what the problem might be here? You know, besides the odd timeline format. The timeline doesn't introduce any spice with any of this. It's just Ganon coming around, messing stuff up. I don't care about Ganon! All of these games kinda are just summed up with Ganon just did this thing. But a lot of them are a lot more than that. I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things, that's all they are, but what about all these other places besides Hyrule? Same thing with the Minish, I would say. We'd never see them again. Granted, that's kind of the point of the Minish, so you kinda covered yourself in that regard, Nintendo. I mean, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if anything, it's a good thing. It makes every game unique and fun to go back to. Majora's Mask wouldn't be quite as special, nor would Wind Waker or Phantom Hourglass or even the Oracle games. And while I do think that they should bring back the Minish in some way, shape, or form, that is what made the Minish Cap so charming and new. One of the bosses is literally just a normal enemy, but this time you're small. That's super cool. So, what's the issue with the timeline? You know the point of this video? Well, it's the same problem with that tirade I just had. It's unnecessary. Much like how I didn't need to complain about the fact that the Minish haven't reared their cute elf-like heads since 2004, the Zelda timeline didn't need to split into 3 freaking directions. It could have easily been linear even with Ocarina's time shenanigans. And even though what I said kinda came out of nowhere, I still feel like it was somewhat comprehensive. Actually, trying to explain it probably didn't really help with the whole comprehension thing, so sorry. But really, if you know the games and the lore and the story, even just a little bit, and look at this thing hard enough, it all starts to come together. Let's get back on track, much like the Zelda Timeline did, and talk about Breath of the Wild. Needs no introduction. I've already said I love it, and one of those reasons is that it fixed the timeline. A lot of different people and places from a variety of timelines have been mishmashed together in this game, including the Rito and the Zora living simultaneously, despite the fact that the Rito are evolutions of Zora. Multiple heroes from different timelines are also referenced, the Temple of Time's kinda just hanging around, a bunch of other people that would be historical in this timeline are referenced in different areas, and beasts and stuff. It's kind of a lot. It's clear that everything kinda collided somehow. Even the music kinda takes reference to this. I only bring this up because I think the music in this game is very underrated. If you listen, there's lots of fun little secrets hidden in. I would suggest giving it a listen if you're a Zelda fan. Anyway, as I said, it's kinda clear that everything collided somehow. Maybe they just wanted to restart the series timeline because it was dumb and stupid, I don't know. But this was really exciting, because that meant that everything is fixed and oh my god, you've gotta be kidding me. Age Calamity is fun, and I like it. However, time shenanigans! Because of this adorable little icky boy, this timeline has been split apart again. Though granted, it's likely just in 2 this time, and maybe Nintendo won't even pursue it this time. I don't really know, but you can't do this to me, guys. Come on. Either way, it seems that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to stick to the new, flat, normal timeline, and that's kind of exciting. The reason that Zelda's timeline is so kind of confusing and stuff is that they try to string together games that really didn't have much to do with each other besides their namesake. Many people who've worked on the Zelda series have said that the timeline was kind of a pain because everyone would always ask where a certain game was on in the timeline. They'd have to revise it every time. But with Breath of the Wild, that wasn't even a problem anymore. Heck, you could maybe be able to have a multi-game story. That would be insane! Or maybe not. I don't know, but I'm excited anyway. Either way, the timeline seems to be a heck of a lot more simple looking forward, even though, honestly, the timeline never really affected the game's enjoyment in the first place, for me at least. All it kinda did was recontextualize these games. You can hop into any of these games and have a good time, confusing timeline or not. Well, that seems to be all that I have to say. So, maybe I should try playing Cookie Run one more time? Well, while I do that, I hope... Wait. What? Oh god! Hey, it's me. I'd like to apologize for the long time that it took to make this video. There's no need to worry, because my next, 3 videos I've already have planned out for what I want to do for them. The next one in particular, the development time should be much more short. Not as much as a hike. To keep it brief, I'd like to thank everyone who's supported the show so far. But yeah, I think that's everything. So, Ipie is signing out.